Hey guys, how's it going? Back with another video today. My name is Jason Sari. I'm a financial advisor with the Premier Client Group. On the side, I run this YouTube page and a Facebook group called Financial Education for Retirement, just to help foster financial education in anybody I can reach. But enough with that. Let's get into the video today on tax loss harvesting. Now, what is tax loss harvesting? You might have heard of it before, how to, in a way, increase your return in a brokerage account over the long run. You know, with stocks, you have to, when you sell them, you have to take tax on them, whether it be short-term capital gains or long-term capital gains. However, there are ways to do this where you might not have to report any taxable gains whatsoever. When you sell a stock, ETF, mutual fund, whatever it may be, in a brokerage account, and you realize the loss by selling it, that loss you now have, whether it's short-term capital gain or long-term capital gain, can offset future sales where you made money. So, just as a visual, you buy Vanguard's S&P 500 ETF VOO. You buy it and it's worth $10,000, let's say. In 2 months, it goes down to $8,000. So you sell because you want to take the loss. You now have a $2,000 short-term capital loss. However, you don't want to miss out on the upside if it goes back up. So you buy again VOO. This is not allowed. This is called a wash sale. Now, the wash sale rule states that you can't sell and buy back the same ETF, stock, mutual fund, whatever it may be, within 30 days of selling, or your basis becomes your original basis. So if you bought back VOO when you put $8,000 into it and it was the same amount per share when it went down, that sale would be canceled out and your basis would be reevaluated. Now, the way around this, the way to really take this short-term capital loss is, let's say you do sell VOO. You want to take the short-term loss. You figure $2,000 is going to really help me later on. Instead of buying VOO, which is an S&P 500 ETF, you buy SPY, a different but extremely similar ETF tracking the same index, the S&P 500. By this token, you are selling a similar but not identical position. This does not count as a wash sale currently. It might change. Who knows what the IRS is going to do, but you can buy a similar ETF, just not exact. On to the loss. This is a short-term loss because you only held this position for 2 months. So with the $2,000 loss after you sell VOO and buy SPY, you can then take that loss against future gains, or you can deduct it from your income you bring in this year. Now, you can only deduct short-term capital losses against $3,000 of ordinary income. Other than that, it has to be carried forward. You can't go back in years and deduct from then, but it can be carried forward indefinitely. You just can't take more than $3,000 of short-term capital losses against ordinary income per year. Now, let's say instead you held VOO for over a year or a year. Same concept, it doesn't matter. When you sold VOO at your $2,000 loss, since you held it for over a year, it would be a long-term capital loss, not a short-term capital loss. With this, you could not deduct it from your ordinary income, but you can deduct it on short-term capital gains and long-term capital gains when you sell stocks. So in that same year, if you were to sell, let's say, QQQ for a $2,000 gain, you could take the $2,000 loss against that gain, and you would not have to take taxes when you sold the position. This is why you tax loss harvest. This is how you create that quote-unquote tax alpha in a brokerage portfolio. This concept is extremely important, how to avoid the wash sale rules, and by the same token, still take the losses to help with your future gains. Now, guys, I know that was a lot, but feel free to go back through that video, through that example, and just pause it and really dissect the sells and the buys to make sure you're really understanding the whole entire concept. One thing to clarify, I know I said because you only held it for 2 months, it was a short-term capital loss. A short-term capital loss is anything that you have sold without a year of holding it. A long-term capital loss, long-term capital gain, you've held it for a year or more. Short-term capital gain, short-term capital loss, you've held it for less than a year. Otherwise, as far as this whole entire process goes itself, sometimes it is difficult to dissect this. You should probably reach out to a financial professional if you're not comfortable doing it yourself. And again, this is not advice whatsoever. Sometimes this doesn't make sense for you. It is, however, a very cool strategy, especially for the long run. If you have a bad year in the stock market and you want to take losses and you really don't plan on taking gains anytime soon, in 20 years from now you can take those losses against the gains. You can carry them forward forever. So it's really something that can help you in the short run, the long run, really any time you're taking a capital gain if you do have those capital losses. Well, I hope you guys got a little bit out of that video today. Definitely a lot of information in there, but a lot of useful information as far as trying to be as tax efficient as possible in a brokerage portfolio. In an IRA where you trade tax-free or a 401k where you trade tax-free, this strategy does not work whatsoever because you're not getting taxed when you trade. But for a brokerage account, this is a very important strategy, and I really hope you guys look into it and try to figure out if it makes sense for you. Otherwise, feel free to check out the Facebook group Financial Education for Retirement to answer any questions you guys might have. And if you want to see a video about it, drop it in the comments, and I'd love to help you out in the future. But have a good rest of your day, and see you guys later.